Hi everyone! Thank you so much for joining me. Today I am going to be going through my Bookish bullet journal with you. So this is the bullet journal that I use to plan anything book related, so either for YouTube or for tracking my reading or for planning my Instagram posts. I usually try to keep this bullet journal pretty simple. It's even more simplistic than my life journal. I don't really change up the layouts of everything from month to month, and the theme is pretty consistent throughout the whole journal as well. For my life bullet journal, I pick a plant every month, but for my book bullet journal, I pretty much just use a new set of stickers. So overall, I just use a lot of torn parchment paper, some black paper, black pen, and then I add a bit of colored gel pen here and there as well. What I'm working on right now is the calendar for the month. This is where I pick the days that I'm going to be posting, and I try to plan what kind of videos I'm going to be posting throughout the month for YouTube. I'll generally put them all in pencil and then try my best to stick to it, and anything that I do end up posting I'll fill in with pen later, but I think this is the first month that I've actually been able to keep up with my plan for everything that I wanted to post. I always have a super simple title page for the beginning of each month. I usually just have the month written in this very sad attempt at calligraphy. I really should take a class in Skillshare or something to brush up on these skills. And here I'm adding just some of the random torn parchment paper. I'm trying to get a little better at just kind of ripping the paper and going along with whatever it does instead of planning it out as much as I used to. And now you can see me going back and fixing some of the calligraphy because it just wasn't dark enough the first time around. And now this is where I add if I'm participating in any readathons. So as you guys know, if you haven't watched my videos already this month, I'm participating in the Magical Readathon, and right now we're in the NEWTs portion of that. So I will link that video just up above in case you're interested in checking that out too. I really don't plan my book bullet journal as much as I plan out my life journal, so I know generally what I want to do with each page, but I usually just go in kind of blind and wing it with whatever I end up doing. Whereas with my life journal, I typically pencil everything out first, and if I have any drawings, I draw them out first, but with this one, it's a lot more of go with the flow. For my calendars though, I always do the small calendar in this size, and I always have the diamond in the back in a different color of gel pen to go with whatever theme that I have chosen for the month. So far, I usually just have a sticker pack of flowers that I've been using throughout the year, but this time I decided to go with some different stickers that are more of these trees and different moons with white flowers and owls. I thought that these stickers would go best with the Harry Potter / magical theme that we have going on for this readathon, and I just thought that it would be perfectly fitting and a bit more mysterious. So this part was super easy. I just printed off the Wizarding Careers Guidebook cover page, and then I printed off the career that I had chosen, which is Metal Charmer, and the prompts for the NEWTs as well. And then off to the right page here, I am going to be putting in another torn piece of parchment paper and some stickers, and this time I will be writing a quote underneath. Normally I would do a little doodle here, find something on Pinterest that I thought was fitting for the month and stick it in, but this time I felt like I was a little bit rushed because I was so late setting up my bullet journal this month that I just decided a quote would be a little bit quicker to go with. And you'll see as I'm writing this, I have this written down on a different piece of paper and I keep checking it, but I still managed to miswrite the quote. And I think I noticed right about here. Yeah, so now I need to go back and white it out and fix it, which ended up working out well anyway because I wanted to space out the lines a little bit further. And the quote that I ended up choosing for this page is from Albus Dumbledore, and it says, "It is our choices that show what we truly are far more than our abilities." And I wanted to choose something that could also kind of relate to not Harry Potter, because I know that G over at Book Roast is trying to move away from having this solely Harry Potter related, but I didn't want to deviate entirely. So these next two pages are going to be my TBR. I printed the prompts for the readathon again on full pieces of paper, and then I cut them out and selected only the ones that applied to the career that I'm doing this month. I also somehow managed to not film that section of the video, so we've jumped right into having all of them pasted into the journal, which is fine because that portion was slightly boring anyway. But here we are. These are all of the prompts for the books that I need to read this month. I also took the heading and then the wax seal at the bottom just to make it look a bit more finished, and I'm really happy that I cut the prompts out because I wanted to make sure that I was incorporating a bit more of that parchment paper instead of just handwriting all of my prompts out for the month, because I am going to be writing in all of the books to match the prompts in underneath, and I didn't want the page to be just writing because I thought that would be really boring and unappealing to look at. So I'm writing in all of the titles now. If you haven't seen my TBR video, I'll link it above in case you're interested in checking it out. So just in case it is hard to read because I know that my phone doesn't focus very well, the titles of the books that I've chosen for arithmancy was The Skin We're In, A Year of Black Resistance by Desmond Cole, Soul of the Sword by Julie Kagawa, A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. For charms, I had another 3 books, so I chose Rat Queens, Volume 3, Demons by Weeb Fowler, Bonvillian and Brisson, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and How to Weave Relationship by Tammy Full. For Transfiguration, I needed an additional 3 books. I chose Monstrous Volume 1, Awakening by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda, Fireborn by Rosaria Munda, Bonecryer's Moon by Catherine Purdy. For Ancient Runes, I needed 2 books. I chose Skyward by Brandon Sanderson and Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. And finally, for the last one, Defense Against the Dark Arts, I chose to read The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina by Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa and Robert Hack. So I also have a space after all of these to write down my buddy reads. I have 2 buddy reads going on this month. I'm reading The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. I'm buddy reading that with my friend Taani over at Taani Reads. And then I'm also reading Harrow the Ninth, which is the second book in the Locked Tomb trilogy. I'm reading that with my friend over at Bookwormreflections. So I will be sure to link both of their YouTube channels and Instagram accounts down below in the description box in case you'd like to check them out too. And then moving on to the next 2 pages, so these are some more kind of habit trackers, but I do them on a much bigger scale in my Bookish bullet journal. And so for my habit trackers, I'm mostly just tracking my reading habits and then posting to Instagram. So the 2 on the page on the left, that's for tracking days that I read books, so either physical books or audiobooks. I have them separated out just to see which one I'm doing more of in the month. And then the one on the right-hand page is where I track days that I've posted to Instagram, because I'm really not very good at posting to my Instagram account, so that one's more so just for encouragement, and the one for tracking my reading is more so just to get an idea of what my month looked like. And I really wish that I could freehand these squares, because I do like having the separated boxes here, but I'm so picky still that I use the ruler, and it takes me way too long to set this section up. So you will see me set up the first little month here, but the rest of them I do off camera. One, so that I can pull the bullet journal a lot closer to me and don't have to worry about sticking my head in the frame, and 2, just because it's really boring to watch me do the same thing 3 times in a row. Normally I put the physical reads on the top and the audiobooks on the bottom, but I go back later to put in the titles and I accidentally swapped it around, and it's really thrown me off this month because that wasn't what I had intended to do. So I almost keep tracking things in the wrong section. And here is where I remember that I wanted to include some washi tape, so I usually always include it in this section just to separate them out and add a little bit more detail to the page. And I do end up going back and adding just a couple small pieces through the rest of the journal, which you will see in the flip through later. And then over here I have another quote in this section. I usually do a quote above the Instagram tracker anyway, but this time I decided to choose a quote by Luna Lovegood. As a Ravenclaw, she's one of my favorites, so the quote that I chose is, "The things we lose have a way of coming back to us in the end, if not always, in the way that we expect. And now I'm just adding in some stickers to finish off the page, and as you can tell I had no plan on exactly what I was going to do here, so I just kind of threw in what I had left and made it work. Now we're moving on to the last page, so I'm just cutting a thin strip of black paper for the line that I'm going to put some of the titles on. I know some people in their bullet journals just fill it in with black pen, but for me, my bullet journal paper is so thin that I didn't want it to fully show through on the other side, so I just used a black strip of paper for that right here. So this is the page where I write down all of the books that I actually did complete this month, so this is my books read. I divide this into 4 different sections where I have the title, the author, the number of pages in the book, and then the star rating that I gave it. Now, I'm really bad at giving star ratings. Sometimes I don't even try because I feel like I'm way more generous than everyone else that I see on BookTube. I feel like I have a lot more 4- and 5-star recommendations than I often see. I think that maybe I'm just not as picky, or I'm just really easy to satisfy, I guess. I don't really know, but yeah, I find that rating books with stars is really difficult for me. So if you have any suggestions on some methods you use to be able to determine a star rating for a book, I would absolutely love to hear it. I have looked at Book Roast's Call Pile, the rating system that she uses, and that's pretty helpful, but it's a lot of steps to go through, so if you have a lot of a more simple way of doing it, please share in the comments down below. I would definitely like to see what you guys do to determine your book ratings. And then the page on the right hand side is just going to be where I start my notes section. So I only show one title page for my notes on that one, and I did end up making it into 3 pages a bit later on. So here you see me going back and titling these sections that I forgot to do, but now we'll jump back into the notes section that I'm actually talking about right now. This is where I write down any video planning ideas I have, Instagram post ideas, and that sort of thing, just so I can do some sort of a brain dump. But yeah, that's everything for my Bookish bullet journal. I hope that this was fun for you to look through, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and enjoy the flip through.